I've just been to Buckingham Palace and accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government in his name. It is only right to explain why I'm standing here as your new Prime Minister. Right now, our country is facing a profound economic crisis.
Let's bring in Nigel Nelson. He's in Kent in the UK, a political editor with the Sunday Mirror. All right, Nigel, are we now seeing the ushering in of a period of nice, calm stability for the UK, at least in the top office?
Well, at least that's what the UK would like to think, that we'll get some stability after all the chaos we've been through over the last couple of years. Everything really depends on the financial statement which comes out next Monday. And what the markets are hoping for is that that will actually be a grown-up kind of budget, which means that they won't go haywire as they did previously with the mini budget under Liz Truss. If he gets through that first hurdle of calming the markets, that he's on to running perhaps a reasonable prime ministership. But at the moment, the polls are really against him. That what the British people want more than anything is a general election.
Yes.
And of course, it's not in his interest to give one.
So how does he win people over? I mean, virtually nobody, when you look at the numbers of people who chose him versus the population, I mean, it's an infinitesimal number of people who have given him the mandate to be leader of this country. How does he win people's trust and confidence?
Well, one way is to actually go back to the 2019 manifesto, which is the one that Boris Johnson won a huge majority. There was an 80-seat Conservative majority in the British Parliament. So he's to Rishi Sunak is promising to abide by that. That might please sort of some Tory voters, because that's what they were voting on last time round. But of course, the situation has changed hugely since 2019. The issue now is really the economy. It's how he will get a handle on inflation, running over 10% at the moment and likely to go higher next year. But most importantly, he must try and get back the Conservatives' reputation for economic competence. And that's what they lost through Liz Truss.
You know what? I thought that it was well orchestrated. You know, I mean, one thing as a politician you have to do is project, at least, that you are in control and that everything's going fine. And the way that they actually did have Truss appear and give this address, and then he gave his address, he certainly did stick to that script, but he acknowledged not only his predecessor and the risk that she took, but he acknowledged that there were mistakes made. I feel like this was very well planned out to not look like you're hiding anything as the public digests this major change.
I think it was really important to actually acknowledge that the last few weeks have been a mistake. Certainly people who are suffering because of it realise what a mistake it was. You're absolutely right, though, that this part of it was well orchestrated, that they got the king in place for one to resign and for the other one to accept forming a government. But bear in mind that what led up to it was far from organised. It was a complete panic. So the last leadership election, which of course Rishi Sunak lost, that went on for weeks, and it went out on hustings with Conservative Party members. They've been rode out of the process this time. Everything has been done in a matter of days. I mean, Liz Truss only resigned on Thursday. We have a new Prime Minister on Monday. So behind the scenes, I think there's a lot more chaos than it actually looks like.
You know, what's sort of sad about this is that the more people that you bring into decision-making, this is what this somehow shows, the more likely it perhaps is to make a big mistake. So you have the whole party involved. They choose Liz Truss over Rishi Sunak. I mean, this was an abysmal 45 days where everybody has to admit that it was, you know, humiliating. And then just a handful of people, the MPs, say, okay, now it's Rishi Sunak. You know, it doesn't speak very highly of the process, unfortunately.
No, I think that's absolutely right. It doesn't. What you were talking about is only 172,000 people who had a vote last time round. That was the Conservative Party membership. They're not very representative of the country. So the membership is 96% white, it's 2/3 male, and 70% over 50.
Wow.
What they didn't like about Sunak was that he brought down Boris Johnson. What they did like about Liz Truss was that she was promising tax cuts, but those tax cuts proved to be totally unrealistic in the current economic situation.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And when you look at the latest numbers of how Sunak stands against a potential Labour candidate, what are they showing now?
Well, the figures are absolutely appalling. That should Rishi Sunak call a general election, which of course he won't, a general election is in his gift, he would end up, according to current polls, with just 48 MPs. Now that's down on the 365 that the Conservatives won in 2019. And what it would mean is the Conservative Party would be virtually wiped out. It wouldn't even be the official opposition party, and the Scottish Nationalists would take over that function. So the one thing he can't do is call a general election. It may well be that the pressure will be on him after that economic statement, where he may even have to, if the markets don't calm down, if people don't see better days ahead, then it's difficult to imagine he could escape the pressure not to go to the country.
Yeah. What do you think the general mood is among people right now? I mean, on both sides politically. Do they see this as taking a breath and let's kind of start over again? Are they angry? How much has this rocked the populace?
Hugely. I think they're very angry that like other parts of the world, that Britain is facing a major cost of living crisis. Energy bills are shooting up. Liz Truss did a bit about that to actually ease those. Prices are going up, food prices even higher than the average inflation rate. They're going up about 14%. Mortgages are very high, so people are now having to remortgage their homes, possibly lose their homes. And when it comes to first-time buyers, they can't even get a home. They can't get onto the mortgage market. So yes, people are really fed up. They're really frightened. From the parliamentary view, there is a kind of feeling in the governing Conservative Party that the grown-ups have taken over, and they're just hoping now the grown-ups can do what grown-ups do and get it right.
Yeah. So, you know, much has been said about how much pressure Sunak is under. I mean, people are looking at him to not only fix the economy somehow, if that's even possible, but make up for the mistakes of not just his predecessor's administration, but his predecessor's administration. However, you could also say that now the bar is very low. So all he really needs to do is do his job without scandal or embarrassment.
Oh, absolutely. But of course, he's not actually been immune from scandal himself. That along with Boris Johnson, he got a fine for being present at an illegal lockdown party in Number 10. That there was a lot of controversy earlier on this year because his wife had non-dom status, so therefore was only paying a proportion of British taxes on the income she earned here. And there was the rather weird question that Rishi Sunak was holding a United States green card. Now, it may be he'd just forgotten to give it back, which was kind of the explanation he gave, but it was a pretty odd situation that we were looking at somebody who wanted to be Prime Minister and also had an escape route to go and live in a different country.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Nigel Nelson, excellent to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us.